Hi guys, welcome to another episode of MrLopezClasses.com. We are going to continue in our book of Composite Materials. This is the chapter 2, and we are in this moment focusing in the paints, the primers, the polyester resin, the epoxy resins, and we are going to do an interview, Mr. Rodriguez and me, to Alvin Miller, the owner of Miller Marine. He's an expert in those type of applications, and Mr. Rodriguez and me, we are going to ask a lot of questions related with the primers, the paint, the gel coats, all of those, because there are a lot of questions related with that. I am going to start with the first question about the primers, what type of primers he recommends depending of the application, and after that we are going to ask about the AllGrip, that famous paint. Can I use the AllGrip in metals or not, in fiberglass, in a carbon fiber? And after that we are going to ask about the Synchrometer. You remember that primer, Synchrometer? Yes, we are going to ask to him if the Synchrometer is recommended in a fiberglass or aluminum boats or steel boats. What is the preference for a Synchrometer? And yes, of course, we are going to ask about the preparation. How it should be the preparation before you apply paints and primers. And once again, a small comparison in between epoxies and polyester resins. And can I fix it both with the polyester resin with epoxy or vice versa? We are going to ask those typical questions that every day you hear in the marinas about oh, my boat, the structure is epoxy, it's not possible repair with polyester. We are going to ask to him if it's possible. And after that, the gel coats, because the majority of the gel coats that we know are prepared in a polyester resin with pigments. You remember? We are going to ask to him what happens if my boat is in a fiberglass with epoxy resin. Can I paint that boat with a polyester gel coat? Okay, we are going to know what is the question. And about the carbon fibers. What happens if the structure of my boat is in carbon fiber? Can I do reparation with the polyester resin, with the epoxy resin? What happens in the boundary in that areas? Will be delaminated or not? And the same we are going to do question related with the PVC. I have a PVC material. Can I laminate that PVC with the polyester resin or epoxy? Or I have a starboard. Can I laminate the starboard with the polyester resin or epoxy resin? Or the wood, what type of wood can be laminated with those type of resins? Excellent question that we are going to do to Alvin Miller in the marina of Mr. Rodriguez. We are going to start with the first question is about the primers. Alvin, what about the primers?
So all you can do it as the danger in mixing paints.
Right.
Because paints are made different way, like a one part, some may be a one part, some may be a two part, and a three where you have the reducer.
Right.
But a one part, you can just take it out of the can, put it on. But if you put a two part paint with a one part, you're gonna have a reaction.
Correct.
Because there's a different blend.
Right. Okay.
Now, you may be able to use like a primer.
Different name brand primer.
If it's a different company, yes. Right. Because the primer, once it's dry, it's made in a way to adapt the paint on top of it. But if some companies may recommend that you use the same primer based upon
with the same paint
product, yes.
Okay.
Whereas you may be able to use a different primer in some paints.
Okay.
So that would depend on the manufacturer of the paint.
It depends on the kind of paint that you're using, basically.
In other words, the primer is not universal for all the paints.
No, because there are different base.
And now we have another great question. It's about the AllGrip. Albert, what about the AllGrip? Can I use the AllGrip with metals?
AllGrip, the paint, they always recommend that you use the same brand primer and paint or whatever it is for whatever throughout the whole job process. But in some instances, some cases, you may be able to use a different primer.
Okay, right. That's clear.
As well as maybe a paint based upon the way it's been manufactured.
Correct.
Let's say because I have done it in the past, which they don't really recommend it, because if it's not done the right way, you can have a reaction. For instance, if you use a primer from All American Paint, which is not AllGrip, it will bond.
Yeah.
But if you use a paint from All American Paint with the AllGrip, you may have a reaction.
It's possible a reaction.
Yeah, you may have a reaction. So
Okay.
you always try to use the AllGrip primer, AllGrip paint all the time.
What about AllGrip with metals in engines, for example?
You always want to use a paint and a primer that is adaptable to high heat, because on the engine where it's going to put out high heat, you always want to have a primer and a paint that is adaptable for that, because if you don't,
okay. Depend of the primer in that case. Okay.
So basically, the question I have for you is, you just can't use regular gel coat on a boat paint and paint an engine.
period.
right?
You don't want to put
the
gel
heat-
coat
the heat
on
would
any,
damage-
any aluminum or steel.
Steel.
It does not bond. It's always gonna.
It's gonna flake off.
Yeah. The only thing gel coat is made for is on fiberglass.
All right. Now, can you use AllGrip on metal?
AllGrip can be used in any material.
So could you paint a motor with AllGrip?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
correct. That's correct.
Yes.
Per aluminum,
Aluminum,
steel.
steel, but there are primers that you have to use before you put the paint on.
Yeah.
So that's what makes the difference.
Yeah, you have to use a metal primer.
Yeah, you have to use a primer.
And now I have another great question. Is about the Synchrometer. That wonderful, wonderful primer. Used it for years and years. Synchrometer. Albert, what about Synchrometer?
Zinc chromate primers.
Well, Synchrometer is for aluminum.
Okay.
You always have, because that prepares the for proper bonding with the aluminum. If you don't do it, then you're gonna have a reaction underneath. Between the metal and whatever you put on, you're gonna have a reaction there eventually. So that's why the Synchrometer is once you clean the aluminum, you put the Synchrometer on, and then you put a primer on.
Okay. But is the Synchrometer is good in any type of aluminum? Doesn't
Any
matter
type of
if it's
aluminum.
cast
Once you're gonna
aluminum?
paint it. Once you're gonna paint it.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
You always want to apply that.
Okay. In other words, the secret for any type of paint is the primer.
Yes, it is, because the primer is what the paint bonds
Your
to.
foundation.
Correct. Is the
And the primer is what bonds to whatever material that you're painting.
correct.
So in order for you to have proper bonding, you have to do the right procedures.
Yeah. And the $1,000,000 question about the preparation. How important is the preparation? Alden, how important is the preparation? And the preparation is another important factor, no? How you clean, how you prepare the surface.
Well, yes, especially because if you don't have the clean surface, you're gonna have reaction in the paint.
Yeah.
So here we go again. Prep is the most important.
Very important.
Most important part of any painting is the prep.
It's very important.
I don't care how good of a painter you are.
Yeah,
If
that's
you don't
not
prime
work,
it
it's not
properly, I mean, you don't prep it properly.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a problem.
You're gonna have-
And the $1,000,000 question is epoxy resin or polyester resin. The main difference between epoxy and polyester. I have a boat. The hull is in polyester resin. The reparation, the future reparation on the hull could be in polyester and also in epoxy.
Yes.
Okay, and what is better?
In either one of them, depends on what material you're working with. Again, it will work out. Both of them are durable.
Yeah.
But it just depends on how your preparation again after you put your epoxy.
Correct. Once again, the preparation.
Once the preparation is done right, your primer is very important, and then your paint.
All right. Okay.
I mean, like one of the advantages of the epoxy paint that it has a little bit of a flex compared to the gel coat.
Yeah, of course,
Gel
of
coat
course.
doesn't.
Yeah, Gelcoat doesn't have a flex. It's just a dry.
or even
straight-
the polyester resin doesn't have flex like the epoxy resin does.
No.
Do you think the epoxy
Because
resin
it-
has the same as the other one?
It's pretty similar, but
And other important thing, I have a boat. The hull is in a epoxy, fiberglass epoxy resin. The reparation should be epoxy.
yeah,
No
wanna maintain-
polyester.
It can, because both it will bond with it.
Oh,
So
really?
you can, yes.
Okay.
But you always, if you come more comfortable using the same material, go right ahead and do that. But it can bond. It will bond.
Okay. And another important question is about the gel coat. What happens if my boat is epoxy? Can I paint the epoxy structure, fiberglass with epoxy resin? Can I paint with the gel coat in polyester?
Gelcoat, they do.
they
do?
But it's
They
not
do.
common, no?
No,
The common is polyester.
yeah, polyester,
It's polyester.
and Yeah, polyurethane.
I would say probably 90% of everything is polyester.
Polyester. And I have a question.
Because it's more durable.
It's more, yeah. I have a boat in epoxy resin, and the cover could be with a polyester Gelcoat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's common, huh?
It's fiberglass. The material.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's fiberglass
Yeah.
Epoxy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And other important question is about the carbon fiber structures. Can I fix it, Alvin? Carbon fiber structures with polyester resin or epoxy resin fiberglass?
And now the question is, if I have a hole in carbon fiber, the reparation should be only carbon fiber epoxy.
A lot of the boats today that they're building is carbon fiber, and they do have their faults. You can bond it with fiberglass material.
Yeah.
It will bond because it's
it bonds?
basically the same.
Okay.
The thing with the carbon fiber is more compact.
Yeah.
Fiberglass is more bulky.
Oh, okay. Right.
Carbon fiber is thinner because it's more compact, compact.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but they're both durable, and it can bond. Both of them will bond.
And there is a reaction in the boundary in between both of them?
I have never really done carbon fiber itself, like on a wide scale.
Okay.
But I don't believe that there will be a reaction because I think they're the same base.
And now the question about material like a PVC, starboard, or wood. Can I laminate those materials with those resins?
I have a PVC pipe. How can I fix the PVC pipe with the structure of the boat? With the polyester, epoxy? What is better?
PVC pipe is more polyester.
It's polyester.
Yeah, it won't bond. I mean, fiberglass will bond to it, will stick to it, but it won't bond.
Okay.
Because eventually, once it's dried, you can actually pull the PVC out if you get it turned.
Yeah, it just won't
It's
bond
not
with
gonna
PVC.
bond. It will stick to it for a while, but it's not gonna bond.
Okay. In that case,
Because the different material it's more like plastic
yeah.
and to fiberglass, so it's not gonna.
What about the starboard?
Starboard, no,
No. Under any condition.
because it's plastic. No.
Yeah, it is plastic. Okay. And plywood, of course. Plywood, yes. Plywood, especially
But
if it's marine, no?
there is a specific way to prepare plywood. When you're gonna bond plywood with fiberglass, so always make sure the surface is clean, and then you put the fiberglass resin on it. Then you put your mat with more fiberglass resin.
Correct.
Wonderful questions. I hope you enjoyed this video clip related with the primers, with the paints, with the preparation of surface, and compatibilities in between polyesters, epoxies, and carbon fiber.